Commander Hyunwoo stood on the moon's observation deck, watching Earth rotate below. The blue planet sparkled with lights from 15 billion people celebrating Unity Day. It was humanity's biggest holiday, marking 200 years since the first Mars colony. He smiled, thinking about his daughter down there in Seoul, probably eating too much cake at the street festival. The alert came at 14:47 Universal Time. Red lights flooded the command center. Sirens screamed. Hyunwoo ran to his station, his heart pounding. The screen showed something impossible. 300 unknown ships had appeared in Earth's orbit. They were massive, each one bigger than any human vessel ever built. "Get me a connection to Earth defense," Hyunwoo shouted. Before anyone could respond, the ships opened fire. Sydney disappeared first. One moment, the city was there with its 5 million people. The next moment, there was only fire and smoke. Then Tokyo vanished. Then Mumbai. Then Mexico City. The orbital defense platforms tried to fight back, but their weapons bounced off the alien shields like raindrops. Hyunwoo watched his screens in horror as city after city burned. He tried calling his daughter. No answer. The communication networks were dead. Everything was dead. Captain Jinwoo commanded the orbital platform Aegis 7 floating above the Pacific Ocean. He saw the other 6 platforms explode in bright flashes. His crew looked at him with terrified eyes, waiting for orders. "Cut all power except life support," Jinwoo said quietly. "Make them think we're destroyed too." His second officer stared at him. "Sir, we have to fight." "With what?" Jinwoo pointed at the screens. "Look at them. Our weapons don't even scratch their shields. If we fight now, we die for nothing. We stay quiet. We stay alive. We wait for our chance." The platform went dark and silent, drifting like debris. On Mars, Dr. Yuna was examining soil samples when the base alarms activated. She ran to the communication room and saw the broadcasts from Earth. Her hands shook as she watched her home planet burning. The Mars colonies had 2 million people spread across 12 settlements. They were defenseless. The alien ships arrived at Mars 6 hours later. They didn't talk. They didn't negotiate. They just started bombing. Colony Delta, where Yuna's brother worked, was hit first. The dome shattered, exposing 8,000 people to the thin Martian atmosphere. They died in minutes. Yuna fell to her knees, crying, but the base commander grabbed her arm and pulled her up. "No time for tears, Doctor," he said. "We need to hide everyone in the deep tunnels. Move." In Seoul, the engineer Hana had survived because she was underground, testing a new communication device. When she climbed out of the laboratory, her city was gone. Buildings lay in ruins. Fires burned everywhere. Bodies covered the streets. She walked through the destruction in shock, her mind unable to process what she was seeing. A voice crackled through the emergency radio on her belt. "All surviving personnel report to Shelter Omega 7. Earth Defense Command is still operational." "Repeat, we are still fighting." Hana started running. If someone was still fighting, she would help them. She was just an engineer, but she knew communications and computers. Maybe that could be useful. Diplomat Sung-ho was at the Solar Council station when the attack began. The station orbited Earth at a safe distance, designed for meetings between Earth, Mars, and the moon colonies. He watched through the viewport as his planet burned. Other diplomats from the colonies stood beside him, all of them crying or praying or just staring in silence. "We should evacuate," someone said. "They might attack here next." Sung-ho shook his head. "No, we broadcast. We tell the galaxy what happened here. Sir, the Galactic Collective will ignore us. They always do. We're not members. Then they'll ignore us while we tell the truth," Sung-ho said. He walked to the communication console and opened a channel on every frequency they had. "This is Earth's Solar Council. We are under attack by an unknown species. 400 million humans are dead. Our cities are burning. To anyone listening, we are asking for help. We are begging for help." The channel stayed quiet. Nobody answered. The alien broadcast came 20 minutes later. A voice spoke in perfect English, Chinese, Spanish, and every other Earth language. "Humans of Earth, you are defeated. Your military is destroyed. Your cities are ash. Surrender now and become workers for the Velkari Empire. Refuse and we will kill everyone on your planet. You have 12 hours to decide." Commander Hyunwoo heard the message on the moon base. Captain Jinwoo heard it on his darkened platform. Dr. Yuna heard it in the Mars tunnels. Hana heard it in the Seoul shelter. Diplomat Sung-ho heard it on the Solar Council station. They all thought the same thing. Earth was finished. But then another broadcast came. This one was from deep inside Earth. from a bunker so secret that most governments didn't know it existed. The voice belonged to someone named Admiral Minho. Attention all surviving Earth forces. This is Ghost Protocol Command. Authorization Alpha 001. All hidden assets are now active. Repeat, all hidden assets are now active. The enemy thinks we are beaten. They are wrong. We have prepared for this day. We knew someday someone would come for us. Now they'll learn why you don't attack Earth. Yunwoo looked at his tactical officer. What is Ghost Protocol? The officer checked his computer, his face going pale. Sir, I'm seeing reports of ships. Dozens of ships appearing from stealth positions. They're ours. Ships we didn't know we had. On Aegis 7, Captain Jinwoo watched his sensors pick up the signals. Human warships were appearing all over the solar system. They had been hiding, waiting. The fleet was massive, armed with weapons that shouldn't exist. Power up, Jinwoo ordered, grinning. Let's join the fight. Diplomat Sungho opened a new broadcast to the galaxy. His voice was cold and hard. To the Galactic Collective. You watched them come. You did nothing. You let them kill 400 million of us, fine. Watch what happens next. Watch and remember why you should have helped us. The Velkari had attacked humanity expecting an easy victory. They thought humans were primitive and weak. In 12 hours, they would learn their mistake. Earth was a planet where every species had to fight to survive. Humans had fought dinosaurs, ice ages, plagues, and each other for millions of years. The Velkari had just kicked a sleeping monster. And now the monster was awake. Admiral Minho had spent 40 years preparing for this moment. Deep below Earth's surface, in a bunker that went down 3 kilometers, he stood in front of a command center that officially didn't exist. Around him, screens showed the entire solar system. His fleet was moving into position, 127 warships. Humanity had built them in secret, one piece at a time, hiding them in asteroid belts and behind moons. The ships used technology stolen from crashed alien probes, improved with human engineering. The Galactic Collective thought humans were primitive. They were wrong. All ships, this is Ghost Protocol Actual, Minho said into his headset. You know what they did to our people. You know what they did to our cities. Now we show them what humans do when you hurt us. Attack pattern Omega. No mercy. The human fleet dropped their stealth fields and opened fire. The Velkari ships had shields that could stop nuclear weapons. But humans had built something better. Rail cannons that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. The slugs punched through the alien shields and tore through their hulls like paper. 3 Velkari ships exploded in the first 30 seconds. Captain Jinwoo led Aegis 7 into battle alongside the Ghost Protocol fleet. His crew cheered as they watched alien ships burn. For every human city destroyed, they would destroy 10 alien ships. For every human killed, they would make the Velkari pay. Target their command carrier, Jinwoo ordered. That's the big one in the center. Hit it with everything. On Mars, Dr. Yuna worked with what was left of the colony's defense team. They couldn't fight the Velkari ships in space, but they could do something else. Yuna was a biologist who studied alien life forms. Earth had captured a few Velkari bodies from crashed probes over the years. She had examined them, studied them, and learned about their biology. Now she was weaponizing that knowledge. The Velkari immune system is weak against Earth viruses, Yuna explained to her team. We can modify a common flu virus to attack their respiratory system. If we can get it onto their ships, it will spread fast. Her assistant looked worried. That's biological warfare, Doctor. That's illegal, Yuna stared at him. They killed my brother. They killed 8,000 people in Colony Delta. I don't care about legal anymore. I care about survival. The virus was ready in 6 hours. Getting it onto the Velkari ships was harder. They needed someone to infiltrate an enemy vessel. That someone was Specialist Isol. She was a cyber warfare expert who had trained for situations that everyone hoped would never happen. Now that situation was here. She volunteered to board a damaged Velkari ship that was drifting near Mars. Isol wore a stolen Velkari pressure suit and carried Dr. Yuna's virus in a sealed container. She flew a small shuttle to the enemy ship and docked at an airlock. Her heart pounded as she entered the alien vessel. Bodies of dead Velkari floated in the corridors. The ship's power was failing. She found the environmental system and released the virus into the air circulation. Then she plugged her computer into their network and started downloading everything she could find. Enemy fleet positions, communication codes, battle plans. But she found something else too. Something that made her blood run cold. The attack on Earth was approved by the Galactic Collective. Isolde read the files with shaking hands. The collective had given the Velkari permission to attack humanity. It was a test. If humans surrendered, they would be classified as a servant species and given to the Velkari as slaves. If humans fought back and lost, the collective would claim Earth's resources. If humans fought back and won, they would be offered membership in the collective. It was all a game to them. 400 million human deaths were just a test. Isolde copied all the files and escaped back to Mars. When she showed the evidence to the colony commander, he immediately sent it to Admiral Minho and every other Earth commander. The message went through Ghost Protocol's secure channels. Within hours, every surviving human knew the truth. The galaxy had watched them die. The galaxy had allowed it. The galaxy had approved it. The anger that spread through humanity's forces was like fire. Commander Hyunwoo led a strike team from the moon base to attack the Velkari command carrier. It was a suicide mission. Everyone knew it. But 200 volunteers joined him anyway. They flew fast attack ships loaded with nuclear warheads directly at the massive alien vessel. The Velkari defense system shot down half the human ships, but the other half got through. Hyunwoo's ship slammed into the carrier's bridge section at full speed. The nuclear warhead detonated. The command carrier's entire front section exploded. Hyunwoo survived. His ship's cockpit was reinforced, designed to protect the pilot during high-speed impacts. 3 other pilots survived too. The rest were dead. But the Velkari command structure was destroyed. Their fleet fell into chaos. Admiral Minho pressed the advantage. All ships full assault. Show them what humans do best. We adapt, we overcome, we win. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, 60% of the Velkari fleet was destroyed. The surviving alien ships retreated, running for their lives. Human ships chased them, hunting them down one by one. On Earth, engineer Hana worked at the shelter helping restore communication networks. When the news came that humanity was winning, people cried with relief and joy. But Hana didn't celebrate. She thought about the 400 million dead. She thought about her city in ruins. Winning the battle didn't bring back the dead. General Taeyang organized the ground forces on Earth. There were Velkari soldiers on the planet, thousands of them, preparing to occupy human cities. But now their fleet was beaten and they were stranded. Taeyang's forces hunted them through the ruins. The humans showed no mercy. They used traps, ambushes, and guerrilla tactics. The Velkari were stronger and had better armor. But humans knew their own planet. They knew how to hide, how to wait, and how to strike when the enemy was vulnerable. Within a week, every Velkari soldier on Earth was either dead or captured. The Velkari Empire sent a desperate message to the Galactic Collective. They asked for help. They said humanity was too dangerous, too violent, too savage. They begged the Collective to intervene. The Collective's response was cold. You requested permission to test the humans. You received that permission. Now you face the consequences alone. Diplomat Sungho heard that message and smiled grimly. The Collective had abandoned the Velkari. Good. Now humanity would finish what the aliens started. Admiral Minho gave the order that everyone was waiting for. Set course for the Velkari home system. We're taking the fight to them. They wanted to make us slaves. Instead, we'll show them what happens when you attack Earth. The human fleet jumped to faster than light speed, heading deep into alien space. They were going to the Velkari homeworld. They were going to end this war permanently. And the galaxy watched in growing horror as a primitive species did something no one thought possible. Humanity was winning. 3 months after the attack on Earth, the Velkari Empire was dying. Admiral Minho's fleet had surrounded their homeworld, cutting off all trade and supply routes. 60% of their military was destroyed. Their colonies were in rebellion. The mighty empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was falling apart. The Galactic Collective watched from their council chambers on the distant planet of Zenith Prime. 247 species sat in a massive circular room, discussing what to do about the human problem, because now humanity was definitely a problem. Envoy Minji stood in the center of that room. She was young, only 35 years old, but she had been chosen to deliver Earth's message to the galaxy. Diplomat Sungho stood beside her, along with a dozen other human representatives. They were surrounded by aliens of every shape and size. Some looked like insects, some looked like fish, some looked like nothing Earth had ever seen. Minji had spent 3 days trying to get permission to speak. The collective kept delaying, discussing, debating. Finally, they allowed her 5 minutes to address them. She didn't need 5 minutes. "You watch them kill us," Minji said, her voice echoing through the chamber. 400 million humans died while you sat here and did nothing. You gave the Valkyrie permission to attack. You called it a test. You gambled with our lives to see if we were worthy of joining your club. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. Some tried to interrupt, but Minji kept talking. "Well, now you know. We passed your test. We beat the Valkyrie. We're not asking for membership in your collective anymore. We don't want to join a group that allows genocide as a testing method. We're here to give you a warning. Stay away from Earth. Stay away from human space. Stay away from our colonies. Because if anyone attacks us again, we won't just defend ourselves. We'll destroy the attackers completely, just like we're doing to the Valkyrie." Hacker Nari had made sure that Minji's speech was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species with a radio receiver heard it. Every planet with communication networks got the message. It was impossible to block because Nari had spent weeks breaking into the collective systems, creating backdoors and hidden access points. The speech went viral across the galaxy. Commander Daehyun led the liberation of Mars. He commanded a fleet of 30 ships that had been hiding in the asteroid belt, waiting for the right moment to strike. When the Valkyrie forces on Mars heard that their empire was collapsing, they tried to surrender. Daehyun almost refused to accept. "They killed my wife," he told his officers. "She was in Colony Delta when they bombed it. These aliens deserve to die." His second officer, a woman named Lieutenant Yunji, put her hand on his shoulder. "Sir, if we kill prisoners, we become like them." "Is that what your wife would want?" Daehyun closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "No, she'd want us to be better." He opened a channel to the Valkyrie forces. "You can surrender. You'll be treated according to the laws of war, but you'll stand trial for what you did here." On Earth, Dr. Yuna studied the captured Valkyrie prisoners. The biological weapon she had created had spread through their forces, killing thousands. She felt sick every time she thought about it. She was a scientist, not a weapon maker. But war had changed her. War had changed everyone. Captain Jinwoo was promoted to admiral. At 38 years old, he was the youngest person to hold that rank in human history. His platform, Aegis 7, had survived more battles than any other human vessel. He became a hero to the people of Earth. But Jinwoo didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired. He had watched too many of his crew die. He had given too many orders that sent people to their deaths. Sometimes he woke up at night seeing the faces of the dead. Admiral Sora commanded the Neptune defensive perimeter. Her job was to protect humanity's outer colonies and watch for new threats. And she found one. Intelligence reports showed that 3 other alien empires were planning a coordinated attack on humanity. The Thralian Dominion, the Queller Unity, and the Silran Consortium controlled 40% of the galaxy's military power. They were terrified of humans now. They saw what happened to the Valkyrie and decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist. They wanted to eliminate the threat before humans got even stronger. Sora sent an urgent message to Admiral Minho. "Sir, we have confirmed intelligence. 3 empires are planning to attack us in 6 months. We can't fight them all. Even with our Ghost Protocol fleet, we'll be outnumbered 10 to 1. Minho stared at the report for a long time. Humanity was exhausted. Earth's population was down to 12 billion. 3 billion had died in the war or from the aftermath. Resources were running low. The colonies were struggling. They couldn't survive another war unless they did something that had never been done before. Minho called a secret meeting of Earth's top commanders. Commander Hyunwoo, Admiral Jinwoo, General Taeyang, Dr. Yuna, Specialist Isil, and dozens of others gathered in the Ghost Protocol bunker. Minho explained the situation. "We can't fight 3 empires," he said, "but we can make them too afraid to fight us." He showed them a classified project. Something called Pandora. Scientist Seojin had been developing it in secret for the past 5 years. It was a weapon that could destabilize a star, making it explode. It violated every law of the Galactic Collective. It was banned by every treaty. It was the most terrible weapon anyone had ever created. Dr. Yuna stood up, her face pale. "That's genocide. If we use that, we'll kill billions of innocent people." "We won't use it," Minho said. "We'll threaten to use it. We'll show them we have it. We'll make them understand that attacking Earth means mutual destruction. It's called terror diplomacy." The room erupted in arguments. Half the commanders thought it was brilliant. Half thought it was evil. Commander Hyunwoo banged his fist on the table. "Enough!" he shouted. "I lost my daughter in the first attack. I watched billions die. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that never happens again, even if it makes me a monster." The vote was close, but terror diplomacy was approved. Colonel Borum led 3 black operations teams. Each team had one mission: plant a Pandora device in the enemy's territory. One team went to the Thralian home system. One went to Quelor space. One went to a major Silran colony world. The missions took 6 weeks. All 3 teams succeeded. All 3 devices were armed and ready. Then humanity sent a message to the 3 empires. A simple message with a video attachment. The video showed a test of the Pandora weapon on an uninhabited star system. The star went supernova, destroying everything within 10 light years. The message said, "We have placed these devices in your territory. Stand down your attack plans or watch your worlds burn. This is not a negotiation. This is a fact." The galaxy went silent with shock and horror. Humans had crossed a line that no species had ever crossed. They had weaponized stars. They had become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. On Earth, protests erupted. Millions of people marched in the streets angry at their own government. "We're not monsters," they shouted. "We're supposed to be better than this." Engineer Hana joined the protests. She had helped rebuild Earth's communication systems. But now she wondered if she had helped the wrong side. Were humans the good guys anymore? Or had they become the very thing they fought against? Diplomat Sung Ho addressed the protesters in a public broadcast. "I understand your anger. I share it. But understand this. We're dealing with empires that want to exterminate us. They don't care about our morals or our protests. They only understand power. We became monsters to survive. Now we have to live with that choice." The 3 empires immediately canceled their attack plans. They sent messages to Earth promising they would never threaten humanity. They were terrified. The Galactic Collective called another emergency session. This time they demanded humanity attend. President Jiwon, the elected leader of the unified Earth government, traveled to Zenith Prime with a full delegation. The galaxy wanted answers. They wanted to know what humanity would do next. Would they conquer? Would they threaten everyone? Had Earth become the new threat to galactic peace? President Jiwon walked into that chamber knowing that every word she spoke would determine humanity's future. The fate of Earth rested on what she said next. President Jiwon was 58 years old. She had been a schoolteacher before the war, teaching history to children in the city of Busan. When the Velkari attacked, her school was destroyed. She lost 32 students that day. Their names were carved into her memory like scars. After the war, people elected her president because she represented something important. She wasn't a soldier or a politician. She was an ordinary person who had survived something terrible. Now she stood in front of the Galactic Collective, representing all of humanity. The chamber was silent as she walked to the center platform. 247 alien species watched her, some with eyes, some with sensors, some with senses humans didn't even understand. All of them waiting to see what this primitive species would say. "You want to know if we're a threat?" Jiwon said. Her voice was steady and clear. "The answer is yes. We are the biggest threat this galaxy has ever seen, not because we want to be, because you made us this way." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Before the attack, we were explorers. We wanted to join you, learn from you, share with you. Then you let the Velkari test us with genocide. You gave permission for 400 million deaths. You sat here in your comfortable chambers and gambled with our lives. Well, you won your gamble. We passed your test. But we learned something too. We learned that the galaxy doesn't care about justice. It only cares about power." Diplomat Sungho stood beside her, holding a data pad with all the evidence Specialist Isal had stolen from the Velkari, the proof that the collective had approved the attack. He uploaded it to the chamber's screens for everyone to see. Several alien delegates tried to speak to defend themselves. Jiwon held up her hand. "I'm not finished. You're afraid of us now. Good. You should be. We have weapons that can destroy stars. We have the will to use them. But here's what you need to understand. We don't want to be monsters. We're tired. We're traumatized. We're still burying our dead. All we want is to be left alone." She took a deep breath. "So here's our offer. Stay away from human space for 50 years. Don't contact us. Don't approach our systems. Don't even look our way. In return, we'll dismantle the Pandora weapons. We'll pull back our fleets to defensive positions. We'll focus on healing and rebuilding. After 50 years, maybe we'll be ready to talk again. Maybe we'll join your collective as equals, or maybe we'll stay in our corner of space. That will be our choice, not yours. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species agreed immediately. Others protested. A few threatened war. But the majority understood. Humanity was offering peace, but only on their terms. The alternative was too terrible to imagine. The vote took 3 days. In the end, the Galactic Collective agreed. Humanity would have 50 years of isolation. No species could enter human space without permission. Any violation would be considered an act of war. Back on Earth, the decision was controversial. Colonel Borum led the teams that dismantled the Pandora devices. It took months of careful work. One mistake could trigger a supernova, but eventually all 3 devices were deactivated and destroyed. Probably. Scientist Seojin kept the blueprints, just in case. He told only a few people, including Admiral Minho and President Jiwon. They didn't stop him. Some insurance was necessary. Admiral Jinwoo commanded the fleet withdrawal. Human ships pulled back from Valkyrie space, from the frontiers, from all the territories they had occupied during the war. But they didn't go home empty-handed. They took technology, resources, and knowledge. Everything they needed to make humanity stronger. The Valkyrie Empire was no more. Their population of 8 billion survivors was scattered across the galaxy, absorbed by other species. They became a warning. A story parents told their children. Don't anger the humans. Look what happened to the Valkyrie. Commander Hyunwoo retired from military service. He moved to a small farm in the countryside, trying to forget the war. But every night he dreamed of his daughter. He dreamed of the cities burning. Some nights he woke up screaming. The doctors called it trauma. Hyunwoo called it the price of survival. Dr. Yuna continued her work on Mars, but she changed her focus. Instead of weapons, she studied ways to terraform Mars faster. She wanted to create life, not destroy it. But she kept her biological warfare research locked in a secure vault, just in case humanity needed it again. Engineer Hana became the director of Earth's new defensive network. She designed a system of satellites, stations, and sensors that would detect any threat long before it reached Earth. The network was called Guardian. It would take 20 years to complete, but when finished, it would make Earth nearly impossible to attack. General Taeyang led the reconstruction efforts on Earth. 3 billion people had died, directly or indirectly, from the war. Cities needed to be rebuilt. Food production needed to be restored. Families needed to be fed and housed. It was harder than fighting the war. Specialist Isolde became the head of Human Intelligence Services. She monitored the galaxy constantly, watching for threats, gathering information, making sure humanity would never be caught by surprise again. She never slept well. There were too many enemies out there. Envoy Minji traveled between human colonies, helping people cope with what they had become. Many humans were ashamed of the Pandora weapons. Many felt guilty about the Valkyrie deaths. Minji told them something her grandmother had taught her. Survival isn't pretty. It's messy and painful and sometimes requires terrible choices. But it's still survival. You can hate what you did and still be glad you're alive. 5 years after the war ended, Earth held a memorial service. Every city, every colony, every human settlement stopped for 1 day to remember the dead. 400 million names were read aloud. It took 16 hours. President Jiwon spoke at the main ceremony in Seoul. We lost so much, she said. But we learned something too. We learned that we're stronger than we knew. We learned that humanity can survive anything. We learned that we're not alone in the universe, but we might be alone in caring about each other. So let's honor the dead by building something better. Let's make sure their sacrifice meant something. Admiral Sora's intelligence teams discovered something interesting. The ancient species that had sent the warning about humans 2 million years ago had a name. They were called the Vrix. They had been powerful, advanced, and peaceful. Then someone attacked them. The Vrix fought back and won, but the victory changed them. They became paranoid, isolated, aggressive. Eventually, they destroyed themselves in a civil war. Sora showed the report to President Jiwon. This could be our future, she said. If we're not careful, we could end up like the Vrix, powerful but alone, safe but empty. Jiwon read the report carefully. Then we'll be careful, she said. We'll stay strong enough to defend ourselves, but we won't let fear control us. That's the balance we need to find. The 50 years of isolation began. Human ships patrolled the borders of human space, turning back anyone who tried to enter. Some alien ships tried anyway. Some were merchants wanting to trade. Some were explorers wanting to make contact. Some were spies gathering information. All of them were turned away. No exceptions. Humanity used those 50 years well. They colonized 200 star systems. They built massive space stations. They developed new technologies. They trained new generations of soldiers, scientists, and leaders. They prepared for the day when isolation would end, and they never forgot the lesson of the Valkyrie attack. Never again would humanity be vulnerable. Never again would they trust the galaxy to protect them. Never again would they be caught unprepared. The galaxy watched from a distance. Some species admired humanity's resilience. Some feared their power. Some planned revenge for perceived insults. But all of them wondered the same thing. What would humans be like when the 50 years were over? Would they be peaceful neighbors or dangerous enemies? Would they join the Galactic Collective or remain apart? Would they forgive what happened or seek revenge? Only time would tell. And time was one thing humans had learned to use well. 50 years passed like a breath held too long. Earth had changed. The planet that once held 15 billion people now supported 20 billion. But they weren't crowded. Massive arcology cities reached into the sky, housing millions in comfort. The atmosphere was cleaner than it had been in centuries. Technology had solved problems that once seemed impossible. Admiral Jinwoo was 88 years old now. His hair was white, his face lined with age, but his mind was still sharp. He commanded humanity's defense forces from a station orbiting Earth. The station was called Fortress Prime. It was 3 times larger than the moon and armed with enough weapons to fight off an entire fleet. Around Earth floated 200 defensive platforms. Each one was more powerful than the entire Ghost Protocol fleet had been 50 years ago. The Guardian network that engineer Hana had designed covered the solar system like a spider's web. Nothing could approach Earth without being detected, but Earth was just the beginning. Humanity had colonized 200 star systems during the isolation. They chose worlds that other species couldn't survive on. Death worlds with toxic atmospheres. Ice worlds with freezing temperatures. Desert worlds with no water. Humans terraformed them all. Where other species saw worthless rocks, humans saw opportunities. Dr. Yuna was 79 years old. She had spent 50 years studying how to make dead planets alive. Mars now had breathable air near the equator. Titan had liquid water oceans. Europa had surface cities. Dozens of other worlds were being transformed. Humanity was spreading like a virus, but a virus that brought life instead of death. President Jiwan had died 10 years earlier, at the age of 98. The current president was a man named Sungri. He had been born the year the war ended. He grew up hearing stories about the Valkyrie attack, about the Pandora weapons, about Earth's 50 years of isolation. Now he faced the decision his predecessor had prepared him for. The Galactic Collective was requesting permission to meet. 50 years had passed. The isolation period was over. They wanted to talk. President Seungri called a council meeting. All of humanity's leaders gathered to discuss what to do next. Admiral Jinwoo attended via hologram, his aged face flickering on the screen. Scientist Seojin, now 90 years old, attended in person. Envoy Minji at 85 was there too. So were younger leaders who had been born after the war. The question is simple, Seungri said. Do we talk to them? Commander Daehyun's son, now an admiral himself, spoke first. My father spent his life preparing our defenses. We're stronger than ever. We don't need the collective. Hana's daughter, who had taken over the Guardian network, disagreed. Isolation was necessary for healing. But we can't hide forever. The galaxy is huge. There are species we might learn from, resources we might need, allies we might want. The debate lasted for hours. Some wanted to maintain isolation indefinitely. Some wanted to join the Galactic Collective. Some wanted to create a new alliance with only species humanity trusted. Finally, Admiral Jinwoo spoke. His voice was weak but steady. I was there when they attacked. I watched Sydney burn. I fought in the first counterattack. I've spent 50 years making sure we're never vulnerable again. And I say this, we're ready to talk. Not as supplicants asking for membership. Not as conquerors demanding submission. But as equals who know their worth. We talk on our terms, in our space, with our rules. If they don't like it, they can wait another 50 years. The council voted. By a narrow margin, they agreed to meet with the Galactic Collective. The meeting was held at a neutral space station in the outer edges of human territory. President Sungri arrived with a delegation that included envoy Minji and a dozen other representatives. They also brought 3 warships just in case. The Galactic Collective sent their own delegation. The species that came were mostly new. Many of the delegates who had approved the Valkyrie attack were dead now, replaced by younger aliens who had grown up in a galaxy that feared humanity. The lead delegate was a being that looked like a floating crystal formation. It communicated through light pulses that were translated to speech. "We thank you for agreeing to meet. The collective wishes to extend an invitation for humanity to join us as full members." Shungri smiled. "After you approved our genocide as a test? After you watched 400 million of us die? Now you want us to join you?" The crystal being flickered. "That decision was made by previous leadership. We have reformed our policies. Such tests are now forbidden. We wish to move forward." "Moving forward requires acknowledgement of the past," Minji said. She was old now, but her voice was still strong. "You need to formally apologize for approving the attack. You need to compensate humanity for our losses, and you need to guarantee that nothing like that will ever happen again." The negotiations took 6 months. The Galactic Collective didn't want to apologize. It would set a precedent. It would open them to criticism from other species, but humanity refused to budge. Finally, the collective agreed. The formal apology was broadcast across the galaxy. The Galactic Collective acknowledges that the approval of the Valkyrie attack on Earth was wrong. "We failed in our duty to protect a developing species. We apologize to humanity for the loss of life and the suffering we allowed. We commit to ensuring such actions never occur again." The compensation was massive. Technology transfers, resource rights, territory concessions. Humanity demanded and received everything they asked for. Some species in the collective protested, but they remembered the Pandora weapons. They remembered what humans did when pushed. President Shungri addressed his people from the space station. "The collective has apologized. They've compensated us. Now we face a choice. Do we join them?" He paused, looking at the stars through the viewport. "I say no, not yet. We've built something special during our isolation. We've created a human civilization that's strong, independent, and united. We don't need the collective to validate us. But we don't need to be enemies either. We'll establish diplomatic relations. We'll trade with them. We'll work with them on mutual interests. But we'll remain independent. We'll keep our own government, our own military, our own path. Maybe in another 50 years we'll reconsider. Or maybe humanity's destiny is to chart its own course." Back on Earth, celebrations erupted. Humanity had survived. They had grown strong. They had faced the galaxy and demanded respect. And they had gotten it. Commander Hyunwoo died peacefully in his sleep that year. He was 92 years old. At his funeral, thousands came to honor the man who had helped save humanity. Admiral Jinwoo gave the eulogy, his voice shaking with emotion. Hyunwoo watched his daughter die. He watched his world burn. He could have given up. Instead, he fought. He showed us what it means to be human. Not our strength or our technology, but our refusal to quit. Our determination to survive no matter what. That's his legacy. That's what he gave us. Scientist Seojin died 2 years later at 95. Before he died, he destroyed all the Pandora blueprints. Every copy, every backup, every file. He recorded a final message. "I created the most terrible weapon in history. I did it to save my species, but I pray humanity never needs it again. Let this weapon die with me. Let future generations be better than we were." But he was wrong about one thing. Copies of the Pandora blueprints survived, hidden in secure vaults known only to a select few. Humanity had learned its lesson. Some insurance was always necessary. Admiral Jinwoo lived to be 103. He died surrounded by family, including children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who had never known war. His last words were, "Stay vigilant. Stay strong. Stay human." The galaxy watched humanity's emergence from isolation with mixed feelings. Some species welcomed them as partners. Some saw them as threats. Some tried to befriend them. Some plotted against them. But all of them respected humanity, because the galaxy had learned something important. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the smartest or the fastest or the most advanced, but they were survivors. They came from a death world where everything tried to kill them, and they thrived. They faced genocide and came back stronger. They stood alone against the galaxy and refused to bow. 200 years after the Valkyrie attack, Earth was a fortress world surrounded by an empire of 200 systems. Humanity had become a major power in the galaxy, respected and feared in equal measure. Historians called the period after the Valkyrie attack the Awakening. Before the attack, humanity was naive, trusting, hopeful. After the attack, they were cautious, prepared, and strong. The attack had transformed them from a species reaching for the stars into a species that owned them. Was it worth the cost? 400 million dead, billions more traumatized, 50 years of isolation, the weight of becoming monsters to survive. The answer depended on who you asked. Some said yes, survival was worth any price. Some said no. Humanity had lost something essential in their transformation. Some said it was neither good nor bad, just necessary. But everyone agreed on one thing. The day the Valkyrie attacked Earth, they made a mistake. They thought they were destroying a weak species. Instead, they created a legend. They created a species that would be remembered for millennia. They created the humans who refused to die. And the galaxy would never forget the day they learned what true terror meant.